this sketch for the Arduino. The data, the two sensors that we have on this system, the temperature sensor and the light, the photoresistor sensor. Those are the only two sensors we have on the system, and they're set up on two analog pins, A0 and A1, on the board. And then the LEDs are on pins 2 through 5 in the digital side. So pins 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we just set those at the beginning of the program. But when we get into the loop, we're doing a couple things. One, we're just getting the values of the two sensors. We're doing some conversions to get the voltage and the temperature out of the first one, and then we're doing a mapping of the value in the light sensor, and then computing that or mapping that into an angle from 0 to 180 for the servo, and then we just write that data to the servo. But what we're doing next within the loop in sequence is we are taking the data. We're declaring, we actually just use the word temp for temperature, give a comma, then the value, comma, voltage, comma, temperature, then print that line. Then we do the same thing for the light, comma, sensor val, comma, map val, comma, angle, print that line. And so those are the two data things that come into TinMan RealTime. And I'm just going to launch that while we look at this script further. And so then we just, after we print those two data lines to the serial port in comma delimited fashion, we then go through and check to see if we've received a message or a command. So here's where we sent out the data, and now we're checking for data that's coming in or commands. And if something has been received, we then parse that, and we, on the Arduino side, determine what actions, if any, to take on the board. And then based on other things and the sequencing, if we have the blinking light enabled, we're just going through a pattern sequencing there. And then we just we put a little delay at the end of that loop, and we go right back to the beginning. So we read the inputs, we communicate the sensor data values in comma delimited format, and then we check for incoming commands. On the TinMan, the real-time side, what we're doing is we've just simply created a new data source. We specified the Arduino COM port. It automatically pulls all the ports on the PC. You can specify parameters and then go. And you can see how fast that was. I just simply specified that port for the Arduino, and here comes the data. You can see light and temperature. Now, if we tried to add gauges to the screen right now, RealTime doesn't know how to parse that. It sees the data coming in. It sees that they're characters and they're comma delimited and they're terminated at the end of the line with carriage return, but it doesn't know much more than that. So we need to create a sensor data template. And what that is, it just tells on selected data sources how to parse that data. And so if we go to, let's just go and see if we can pull up let's go to this folder. And we have UDP COM source data Arduino. We're going to take a look at this first. So we'll open with Excel. This is just a very simple file. You just write this yourself once you know what those data values, what that nomenclature is going to be for your sensors. So, and what that is, it has a header row, just the ID, and I've named it temp and light. Now, if you remember in this script here, if we go back to the sketch, we've just arbitrarily chose temp for all of the readings of the temperature sensor, and we chose the word light. And so we just simply specify those as the IDs of the two sensors. We give them a name. We can give it a description so that appears in the TinMan RealTime product. But we know that there are 3 values for each of these things. And so we just declare those. The first one is the value itself. The second one is the voltage. The third one is the degrees. And we know that for the photoresistor, the way we're sending the data is you have the value, then the mapped value, then the angle. And so once we have that, we just save that as a CSV file. I'm going to close that, not save it, but I am going to bring it in. Let me just do this one more time. So here we are. We see the raw data coming in. That was a single click. Now we're going to import a sensor data template. We're just going to specify that data. And there they are. There's the temperature and the light. Now we can add controls. So if we drop a control on the screen and select properties, it's automatically populated with those sources. And so I can choose the temperature gauge And this particular type of gauge will show me all the values coming in on that line, value, volts, and degrees. And this one will show you, let's just choose this, in this case, the photo sensor. And there we have that one. And so that's how you basically do it. Adding a gauge and a control is pretty straightforward. If I just grab a crescent control for the photoresistor, we know the angle is going to go from 0 to 180. Let's see if we can choose, let's see, 0. If we go minus 90 to 90 and choose the COM port 7 photoresistor and angle, and there's the angle. And so that's how quick it is to add controls. And we can also add a line chart. Let's do this one for the temperature, and we'll just select a source, temperature, and degrees, and give it a color, show that in the legend, and we'll have this go from 0 to 100 is fine. And then there's that one. And so that's how we do that side of the equation. Now, in terms of the commands, now if you remember in the sketch, we had arbitrarily chosen some commands: pattern on, pattern off, all, none, R, Y, and G. And just like there is a sensor data template to help with the parsing of the incoming data, there are command templates to help with the assembly and delivery of specific types of commands. So here's the, I'm just going to open this really quick for Excel, and you can see that it's a little different structure, but generally the same thing. It's a CSV file that just includes all of the commands. In this case, the name of the command, the one that will be sent through the port, is in the name column. And so here's all, none, R, Y, G, B, pattern on, pattern off, and then we can put a description and just leave these blank for now. Once you have this written, and that's pretty much very simple to do, you're going to close that, and I'm going to close out again. We're going to do this process from the beginning. So we have a data target, okay, and it's COM port 7, and that's automatically created for you once you create the data source. I'm going to select import commands, choose that command template, and specify their common delivery. There they all are. And so here are all those commands. And now I can simply add a command button to the screen, and I do a right click on it, and I can say this is going to be to do the pattern lights. Okay, and we want to select a COM port target, and there are all our auto-populated commands to choose from, and we can test this, and there goes the lights. And so we'll just go ahead and leave that. And now let's have one that turns it off. Do the same thing. This will be off, and we'll specify a port and a command, and we'll test. There we go. So there's on, and there's off. And you can see the commands being delivered. And that's that. That's how easy it is to communicate with an Arduino with sensors and